Well, hello everyone. If you'd like to see my Dukke Blouse by Wardrobe by Me, my Nephiline blouse and my lace pants made from an old tablecloth, stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Deb and this is DB Design and Sewing Australia. Welcome to all my subscribers and welcome to anybody who is new. I thought I would start off by telling you what I'm wearing. I am wearing a gingham shirt. I think the fabric came from Spotlight from memory. And this is an all-in easy fit shirt by Pattern Emporium. I am wearing a ready to wear top that is sleeveless. And I'm wearing the True Bias Lander pants that are way too big in the waist. And so I have to wear a belt to keep them up. So I've come to talk to you about my makes for the week. Now the first thing I made was the Dukke Blouse by Wardrobe by Me, which is this blouse here. Now I had gone on to the Wardrobe by Me site because I wanted to make, I can't remember if it was the artist's jacket or the workman's jacket or something like that. And then I saw this blouse and thought I have to have that instead. And so I bought it. I got Kristen from the Dahlia Sewciety to print it for me. So it's nice and big. Oh yes, and I was good and I traced it off because I thought I might need to make some in another size. So I printed it off. As you can see, it's describe it on here, does it? The Dukke Blouse is a relaxed fit button-up shirt designed with clean lines and subtle shaping details, featuring a flat Peter Pan collar, straight side seams, gently curved hemline. The blouse offers everyday comfort with a tailored touch. The design includes a front chest dart for shaping, a back neckline dart for refined fit, making the blouse with 7/8 or 3/4 length sleeves. Make Dooka with a lightweight woven fabric such as cotton, linen, chambray, double gauze or viscose. So I actually made it out of viscose. And here is my blouse. Now I will insert photos. And what I love about this blouse is the collar. The collar is absolutely beautiful. Now I've stitched it all down except for this very back facing. And so you can see the front is stitched down here and I did some hot pink buttons that match this hot pink flower here. So, because that's what I had in my stash. So this is a Dashwood Viscose. And I got it in the February Deluxe Box from the Dahlia Sewciety. It's a beautiful fabric to work with. And the buttonholes worked out so well. They are just lovely. It was really easy to do these buttonholes. And I made the size 12 or the size 42. And it fits perfectly. And it just has a straight sleeve. And quite a deep hem on it. So I didn't do a bias cut hem. It already had a deep hem on it. Now the best thing about this blouse is the fact that the collar has an under collar. So you have the top layer of collar and your under collar that's made of two pieces that is cut on the bias. That's the reason the collar sits so well. And you can see that the under collar has the top collar rolling over by just a couple of millimeters. And that's what makes it beautiful. So when you go to sew it together, you've made up your under collar, you've made up your top collar. So your top collar is the one that faces upwards. Your under collar is this side under here. And as you can see, it's got a seam in it. So when you have a pattern that specifically has an under collar and a top collar. Most of the time, and I must say most patterns that I've used, you will find that the under collar is slightly, ever so slightly smaller than your top collar, but it's cut on the bias. So you can make it match perfectly to your other collar. And what it does then, it naturally rolls in like 2 millimeters around the edge. You do top stitch it in place. This shirt's actually got quite a bit of top stitching on it, all top stitched down the front here. And I wasn't sure if you were supposed to, you know, me and instructions, if you were supposed to do top stitching on the facing, which is your inside facing in here, but I did it anyway because I really liked the look of it. So if you wanted to wear the shirt open, it's got quite a decent facing, so you wouldn't see the fact that the inside of the viscose is white. And on the very back neck, you've actually got darts. So if we look on the inside here, there are darts. You can see where I've clipped the collar there, but it has darts in the back neck. Now they sit like here and here, and it actually makes for a really good fit around your neck. There's no gaping. There's no, I think it's too big in the neck for me, which sometimes I think a lot of dresses actually could do with having darts in the back neck, because it would bring it in nicely. But you can see from the photos, beautiful shirt. I absolutely love it. I love the pattern. Wardrobe by Me is a great pattern company. So I always find their patterns fit together very, very well. What else did I write? I wrote that this would actually be really, really nice because it doesn't have a button placket or anything on the cuffs. You could make it in a much heavier weight fabric and turn it into a shacket easily. There's plenty of room in those sleeves that you'd be able to wear something underneath it. So really happy with the Dukke Blouse. So that was my first make. Then I made the lace pants. Now this was made out of an old tablecloth that was in my linen press when we moved here. So these are the lace pants. And I had thought that I would not be able to do an invisible zip because the fabric is so thick, because basically it's a crocheted tablecloth, which means it'll probably fall to bits after a little while. But I managed to get an invisible zip in. The only issue I had was some of the lace stopped it from zipping up easily. And so what I did, and you can't even see it, is I stitched on the outside really close to the lace while pulling it away from the zip to try and give it the area that it needs to be able to zip up. What I realised was I needed to cut out the pieces and the pieces of the lining, and I wanted it lined all the way down to the bottom, except for this last little crocheted part from here. I didn't want to hem them, so I used the edge that came with the tablecloth. And I just lined them with a cotton poplin. But what I did was I cut out the pants, and then I cut out the lining, and then I overlocked the top layer to the lining and then treated it as one piece. Now, the only seams in these pants are the back and the front crotch and the inside leg. All the rest So here you can see I've treated it as one piece. And because I'd overlocked them together, I didn't have to neaten it off on the inside once I'd stitched that together. Now the pattern I used was the Falconer pants, and I just lay the pattern pieces on. So if you remember the Falconer pants, they have that front seam, they don't have a side seam, and they have a side back seam. So I basically lay those pattern pieces on top of each other, taking out the seam allowance, probably taking out too much of the seam allowance in hindsight, because the pants are okay, but I think I want them looser. Like they fit, but I think there would be less stress on the whole pants if they were looser. And because the Falconer pants are quite high in the waist, I knew that I could just do a waist facing. So when the pieces were joined together, and I just put pins in them to join the front side piece and back piece, those three pieces together, I just also cut a facing. So I just lay paper on it and traced around, especially the top edge and then the bottom edge, and then when I took it off the pattern, I just straightened it all out and made it good. So my facing has got side seams. So the front is all one piece, and I did understitch it, but the only place it's stitched down then is at any seam lines. And the other thing I did was add darts. So once I'd made up the pants, so I joined the two crotch pieces on, tried it on and thought, wouldn't have wanted to make those any smaller. But it was still like bigger at the waist. So I put darts, and quite short darts, because across my tummy it was fitted enough. So my darts are only short, and you can see a dart there. They're the darts in the back. They're slightly longer than the darts in the front. And so once I'd done the darts, sewn the facing on, then I sewed the zip in. And I thought the invisible zip was not going to be able to work, but it worked perfectly. It's just the zipping up and down of it is not as smooth as you get with other invisible zips. So still doable, but I needed to stitch down that lace along the edge of the zip just so that it wasn't going to get caught in it. Because what if you're out and then you have to go to the bathroom? So really happy with how they worked out. Not sure if they're going to fall apart, because I already found a spot that I repaired. And the reason I found the spot to repair, and I actually just put a big safety pin in it at the time, I found the spot to repair because I cut them out singly. So I cut out one side, it's fairly wide, so you've got like two crotch pieces, back crotch, front crotch, and your legs. And I knew I had enough fabric. It's quite a big tablecloth, probably for a 6-seater table, and I'm short, so all I was worried about, all I was concerned about was that they were not going to be too long and I'd have to somehow take them up, because I wanted that scalloped edge from the edge of the tablecloth to be the hem. So I cut them out singly. And when I was cutting them out, I saw a piece that had pulled apart because it's crocheted. And so I just put a safety pin in it, and then before I stitched on the lining, I just stitched that together, and I just hand stitched that together. And that seems to have held because I cannot even find where it was. So I'm happy with the fit, but I think next time I would do them a bit looser. Now I have got some like linen-y type of tablecloths in the cupboard, and I was thinking that, and they're plain, so they're not crocheted, but they do have that turned over hem. I think it's called an heirloom hem, which I'd like to keep for the bottom part of it. But I'm also thinking that I could do embroidery up the legs of that type of a thing. So that was my crocheted pants, which I'm really happy with, and I'm glad that I made them. I'm just not sure if I'm not going to get them caught on something and rip them off my body, really. So that was a successful make, that's what I call it. And then I made the Nephiline blouse, which is a sewing pattern by Vivian Shao Chen, which is here. And I made the one with the frill. And I made the Nephiline blouse in a linen viscose blend. So here it is here. And you'll see from the photos, it sort of hangs away from your neck. But then when I've looked up other people making this, they really like the blouse, because I really love the blouse and I love the sleeves. So if that was in a plain colour, you'd easily be able to see the fact that that's got two pleats in it. It just hangs so far away from your neck. It's sort of, I don't know, big here. So I don't know that I will make this again. I did put some of the little black and gold buttons on it that I bought in Vietnam, but up here on the neck frill, I put a clear press stud. Well, it's actually not on the neck frill, it's on the bias on the inside. So to finish it off, you do this bias on the inside, which is actually not an easy thing to do because it's all quite narrow. And so I was reading someone else's vlog, and, or maybe it was a review. I was reading it, not watching it. So it was a review. And they said that 6 millimeters that you've got to turn under, if you've got a fabric that frays, which this does fray, can be quite difficult to do. So what I did was a 3-thread overlock on it, and then I could turn under that overlocked edge. But what they did was made it, like, that's quite a bulky part there. It's got a fair few layers under it. So there's no way you could ever put a buttonhole in that. You just couldn't put a buttonhole in it. And so I decided to do the buttonhole just a bit further down, not right at the very top, thinking that, you know what happens when you try and sew half a buttonhole over a really bulky bit? It's not going to like it. And I was really happy with how the buttonholes worked out. My machine's actually really behaving itself lately. They're the buttonholes. They're the buttons. And there you can see my clear press stud. And it's not the sort of shirt you'd ever wear open, because that neckline flops around as it is. If you wore it open, just say with something else underneath it, it's going to be everywhere. So it'd just be too floppy everywhere. So I thought, I'm just going to put a clear press stud on that to try and hold it together. So when you're do that, it's okay. But, and it's not too big in the shoulders. I only made the size 3. So this is quite an oversized shirt, but when you have an oversized shirt, you don't want it to be oversized here in the shoulders. Yes, you can have a drop sleeve and things, but you really don't want it to be massively big in the neck. And as I said, in that, it hangs away from the body. And even when I look on their website, that is what it looks like. I don't think I could size down any further than the 3. So I had great hopes for that pattern. I'm glad I didn't use the Jardin textured cotton, which is what I had intended to use. So, because I will wear this, but just not as often as I'm thinking that I will wear that light pink fabric that I've shown you before, that I got extra of as remnant pieces. So that is my Nephiline blouse. Let me know what you think. Have you made this? Was the neck weird on you? I don't think I've done anything wrong. So when I look at other makes of this shirt, it's hanging like that on everybody, but most people have not said, hey, it's too big in the neck, I don't like it because it hangs too far away from me. There is another version with a much higher neck, because the sleeves are very, very cute, but I don't think I'd be rushing back to remake this. Although those sleeves are nice. I might incorporate the sleeves into a different top, or use the same method for putting those tucks. I guess they're not pleats, they're tucks in that sleeve. You can do it without the tucks, you can do it with the tucks. Yeah, so a bit disappointed, because in the pattern, in the images, it looks really, really nice, but just that hanging away from the neck thing is just not me. So maybe some people wear their stuff like that, but I don't. So glad I tried it out. Really happy with my lace pants. And really happy with my Dukke blouse. I do love a Peter Pan collar. Maybe it's a flashback to school, because when we wore school tunics in secondary school, we had Peter Pan collars. They were much deeper than that. They were really deep. And a tie and a blazer. So, now I'm just thinking of what tops can I wear with this. And that's what I've got. The fabric I showed the other day when I did the unboxing of the Christmas box. I showed you the fabric that I bought, which was the Odette Swan viscose crepe, I think it is. Some sort of crepe, which you can it's very textured. And some more remnants of the Jardin Tea Rose, I think it's called, in the pink. In the textured cotton, which I think would make a great top to go with this. And I'm thinking these are quite boho, so do I need like a peasant sort of blouse? I'll have to see. I have got somewhere a whole lot of patterns out, so I can see which pattern I would like to make that in. Even though I've got the fabric in pieces, like 4 different pieces, I'll still be able to easily get it out of it. So that's all from me. If you've got any suggestions for a peasant type boho top / blouse, preferably not button up. I can't remember that we wore very many things buttoned up in the 70s. I'm thinking it's 70s. Probably 60s and 70s. I don't think we wore very many things buttoned up, so probably a pop over the head I can remember wearing lots of, I think the shop's name was Ishka, where you had all the Indian fabric with the tie cord. And they did have a front yoke, but they weren't terribly gathered across the bust. So maybe a top that's similar to that sort of thing, even though I don't like pleating across the bust. If you know of a top, let me know. So that's all I've got for you today. Everybody have a fabulous week. Let me know what you're sewing. Are you sewing a lot of summer clothes? I'm not sure when summer's going to be turning up here. It's raining again and it's quite cool today. So hopefully we'll get some summer weather and I can wear some of my summer clothes. Everybody have a fabulous week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.